Good morning and welcome to the Living Lighter Facebook Live show. I'm your host, Sally Thibault. Today we're talking intuitive eating, why it's never about the food. Let's go. And good morning on this gorgeous Saturday morning. Hope you are well. And if you are from Victoria, we are sending our love to you. 6 weeks of it, guys. I hope that you are able to make the most of this. Just know that we're all thinking about you. So as you pop on this morning, just say hi. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm really excited about bringing this show to you today. And as you can see, we're in our brand new studio. And in case you don't notice that background, it is actually of Canada, and it reminds me of our Christmas we had a number of years ago with the kids. And I just love this background. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. I've had so much fun this week putting this all together, and it feels good to be in my own studio. Good morning. Good morning. Now I'm going to Nicole, good morning. I'm going to get right through this. What we'll do, have a break in the middle for questions. But if you are talking, if you want to ask questions, please do as we go along. I want to make this as interactive and as informative as I can, because this is an issue I find many people struggle with in this intuitive eating. I want to release all that kind of misinformation about it. It's something I'm really passionate about. I've been doing it myself now for well over 3 decades and teaching it. And I see so many people struggle with it and get it wrong. But we're going to talk about why intuitive eating is never about the food. All right. So let me just get my everything up here. So I want to just start talking about, just let me know if you are practicing intuitive eating at the moment. And if it's something that you're really interested in finding more about, as I said, I will move through this as we go through and come back and look at the questions. But my background, a little bit about me for those who don't know, I was a fitness instructor for many years, and I also struggled with my body image, weight, so from my teenage years, really, right through until after I had my children. And during those years, I was teaching up to, 35 classes a week at one stage, and living on kind of, rice cakes and cottage cheese. And there was a time then that, and I shared in my book, Lighter, Stronger, Leaner, Lighter, I share how when my husband asked me this question one day, that it actually changed how I dealt with food. And that's what I love to teach now, because when I was able to release the emotional connection to food and truly understand the concept of intuitive eating, everything changed. And it's something that I do, and I'm quite passionate about when I'm coaching women. This is what I call the last frontier for many people. It is this challenge about releasing the rules and the restriction and the dogma around food and diet, and learning to trust your body. And that's probably what intuitive eating is most about. It's the connection to your body's wisdom. We all have it. We all have this innate wisdom. However, as we move through life, that wisdom is often challenged. And for many people, and I will say women in particular, it comes down to we start to not value our bodies. Instead, we judge them and set up sometimes some unreasonable and unreasonable, I guess that's the word, an unreasonable expectation of what our bodies should look like. And that's really driven by the media mostly. But for me, what I discovered was that intuitive eating is truly a transformational experience, because this, when you learn to reconnect to that wisdom in your body about the food that you eat, there's a whole lot of experiences that happen. Do you know, we are intuitive beings. Women are intuitive beings. And that intuition is often judged or challenged. And most of us do not eat for hunger. Most of us eat for every other reason under the sun. Let me know if you understand or kind of get that part about the fact that food, I'm not really hungry. There's other reasons that I eat. In fact, you know, I've done a series of videos on the types of foods we tend to reach for that satisfy an emotional connection. Somewhere along the line when we grow up, food becomes more than just nourishment. We eat more than just for a physiological reason. And so intuitive eating is understanding that concept. And it's not a standalone. I think that's the thing that I find many people get a misunderstanding of what it is, because it's not standalone. You don't do intuitive eating and you don't do anything else. It's a transformational experience. So it's a journey that takes you on a journey by relearning to trust your inner wisdom about the foods that best support your body. And it's not about dieting, and it's not about following a certain dogma. It's not about restriction. It's a whole different concept. It's a transformational experience. And one of the things I really want to share with you is that intuitive eating is not judgmental. Do you know, there's some people who embrace body positivity and body confidence and believe intuitive eating is about, you know, just allowing yourself to eat everything you want. Everything you want. I just want to use those terminology. Others can use it for releasing weight that no longer serves them. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want, the minute you set an intention for whatever you want, that's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you want to do, whether you're embracing positivity or you want to release the weight that no longer serves you. Intuitive eating will show up and support you in that. So it's not an either or. And it's not about following, you know, a keto or paleo or whole food or clean food. None of that. Because it comes back to the decision you make and where you're at the time. So intuitive eating is about supporting a decision that you make about who you are. And when you make that decision, when you choose to release the weight that no longer serves you, first emotionally and then physically, intuitive eating supports you. So I guess the biggest challenge is to move out of restriction and into intention. And that's what I'm going to be talking about right now, because I don't believe it's a standalone. I believe there's 4 aspects to intuitive eating that have to work together. And when they work together, that's when it works for you. They can't be standalone. In fact, when I'm working with clients, this is probably the biggest issue many of them face, is the fact that it's to release that restrictive mentality that has dominated what you want. So if you're the type of person who's been in restriction, and you're the type of person who has perhaps dieted a lot in your life, intuitive eating can be challenging because it's about moving out of your head. Number one, important, moving out of your head and moving into your innate wisdom. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you right now. I'm going to be sharing with you the 4 aspects of this that have to work together. Let me know if you are okay this morning. How you doing? Give me a heart, give me a like, whatever. Just let me know you're with me. All right, let's move into the 4 aspects of what I call the lighter methodology. And this is how intuitive eating works. best. All right, here we go. Number one is what I term allow. And there's a statement that goes along with allow. I now allow myself to eat anything I want. Now, when I first embraced intuitive eating, after that question my husband asked me, when he challenged me about my beliefs about how food makes you fat, he simply asked this question. He said, how can a teaspoon of sour cream put on a pound of weight? And he was absolutely dead right. I had gotten so focused on good and bad food at that time in my life that I was so restricted in what I eat. And so this was the statement that I created for myself. I've been reading Louise Hay at the time and had gotten into affirmations. So I created this statement to try and rewire my brain, create that neurodisruptor to go from a person who believed that I had to diet to have the body I want, or I want to move into somebody who believed they could eat anything they want. There's two words in this statement that are critical, really critical. One is the word allow. I now allow. When you move into that space of allow, you're giving yourself permission to release the restriction. If you have dieted all your life, if you've lived in some form of restriction about who you are, when you use the word allow, it releases that heaviness. It's like if you give a child, if you give them a whole heap of lollies to eat and say you can eat as many as you want, for a little bit of time, they'll go a bit crazy eating it. But eventually, because there's no restriction on it, they won't want it as much. And that's the same for all of us. If we release the restriction, we're not going to want it as much. But when we restrict ourselves, that's when the challenge happens. We move into restriction. I say for every diet, there's an equal and opposite binge ready to happen. If you're in restriction, eventually you can't keep it going. That's why diets don't work. That's why people put on weight after they've eaten. And there's heaps of studies now that show that, is that when they diet, most people, I think it's 95% of people who diet, put on the weight within a year, if not more. But that's because they're living in restriction. But if you allow, there's a beautiful flow of energy that happens in your body where there's no restriction. So I now allow myself to eat anything I want. Again, the word want, not need. In my experience, coaching women in this transformational space, many women have never given themselves permission to have what they want. They've allowed themselves to have what they need. But what do you want? What difference is it if you use the word want to need? Need to me feels kind of like, okay, I can do that if I choose to have that because I need it. It's a different energy than I want. What if you want something? I know for many people, and it did for me too, this whole concept of the words that were used when I was a child. You can't have everything you want. That's being selfish. Just be grateful for what you have. There's a whole lot of connotations around the word want. And yet in this freeing up of embracing yourself as a whole being, allowing yourself to have everything you want is a whole different concept. There's no restriction. What happens to you when there's no restriction? So that's the first part. I now allow myself to eat anything I want. What does that feel like in your body? Next, we go to the second aspect. So first is allow. The second is ask. Now allow myself to eat anything I want. Now it's a time to ask your body, what does my body really want? This is moving out of your head that whole, that space in your head where you know every fat gram and macro and calorie and good food and bad food. What does my body really want? Here's where the deep inner work has to happen with this, because many of us don't know. We've become so restricted in choice about what we think we can and cannot have, that when you ask, what does my body want, we go straight to our minds. Okay, well, I can't have that because it's too fattening, or I can't have that because it's got too much sugar, or I can't have that because, who do I think I am? Well, when you move out of your head and into your body and listen to what your body wants, and that requires stillness. This is where the deep inner work comes, EFT, meditation, journaling, this concept of getting to know who you are. Who are you really? Not your head knowing that space, but deep in your heart, who are you? What do you really want? What does your body want? For those of you who are on this call today and have raised children or given birth to children, you didn't have to think about that process. That from the moment of conception, your body just took over. You don't have to think about it. You just did it. And those of you who've been through the pregnancy journey, sometimes your body wants things that you have no control over. I'm quite reminded of bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches, and the bread from a certain bakery that I just had to have with one of my children, and another one was olives and feta cheese. Just had to have them. Just had to have them. Your body told you what you want, and because you were pregnant, you allowed that to happen. And I think after my first pregnancy and had olives and feta cheese for 4 weeks in a row. It took me a long time to eat olives again. I just didn't want to go there. But there's no rhyme or reason to it. The body will tell you, but it's the mind, your brain, that steps in over the top and go, oh, no, you can't have that. And the more you do that, the harder it becomes to embrace intuitive eating. When we restrict what the body wants, when you allow it, remember that analogy I used before, when you allow it and there's no restriction and you listen to your heart, that whole of you, that's the challenge, that's the change. But if you are running with a belief about your worthiness or your value, then the choices you make right here, right now are being run by that, your worth, your value. Most people choose food at this point based on something else: stress, overwhelm, sadness, emotion, whatever it is. That's where most people make those decisions, and that's coming from your head, not from your body. That's why this is the part that's challenging. And it's just a process. You can't do it overnight. It's a process. And it's not an 8-week thing either, just quietly. It's an ongoing process. It's a lifelong strategy. So number 3, remember there's 4 parts to this. So allow, ask. Number 3 is affirm. I choose to honor the message without judgment. I choose to honor the message without judgment. Because this is where we go, oh, gee, I ate that chocolate. Damn it, I was going to eat clean today. If your body wanted chocolate, eat the chocolate. A piece of chocolate is not going to ruin your body for the rest of your life. It's just not. And here's where I find for many women, they go, oh, well, see, I have to give up now. Can't do anything about it. I've blown it. I'll try again next Monday. When you honor the message without judgment, this is where you begin to say, you know what? I'm trusting my body to make this decision for me. I'm moving out of my head. I've got to move out of my head into my heart. What are the emotions that are driving me to judge myself? Where are they? What are the emotions that are driving me to judge myself? Always comes down to value and worth. Always, always, always. Value and worth. What you value yourself and your body. Okay, we're ready to get to number 4. Where are we? We've got another 10 minutes to go. Okay, number 4. Acknowledge. This is where you acknowledge. Now, this is really important, this particular step, acknowledge. Because there are some foods that our bodies at certain times in our lives don't need. And the body will let you know because it'll show up in it. So, for instance, for me, I know dairy is not good for me. And my body lets me know. If I eat dairy, and I share in the program, I'm working with clients, when I eat dairy, it makes my face puffy. I don't feel good. I feel kind of gluggy and heavy. And I can tell the minute I eat dairy, I feel yuck. Same with gluten. I've had too much gluten, I've had too much bread and I haven't watched what I've eaten. I just feel uncomfortable. My body is telling me. Now, it's at that point the decision comes. How are you going to acknowledge your body? Are you going to ignore it? It's telling you right there up front. I bet every single person on this call, you could tell me, we're going to get to all your questions in a minute. I think every person on this call will be able to tell me of a certain food and they eat, they don't feel good after it. But you see, if you live in restriction and you're not attuned to your body, it's like, well, I don't care. I'm going to have it. I know if I eat that bowl of potato chips, tomorrow morning my fingers are going to be swollen because I've had too much salt. My eyes will be puffy. I'm not going to eat that bowl of potato chips. I don't want to feel like that. I don't want my body to feel it. I want my body to be peak performance. I want to wake up in the morning and do a workout and sit on the beach and watch the sunrise. I want to have energy for the rest of the day. And it's right here that so critical is to understand how certain foods make you feel, because your body will always tell you. Now, you may at this point say, there's something that's really bothering me. I don't quite know what it is. And that's where you go and talk to a nutritionist or a dietitian or a naturopath to find out if there's an allergy. But I know for me, I know the foods that trigger me straight away. And I choose not to eat them because, let's go back to this one, I choose to honor the messages without judgment. I choose. So everything comes down to choice. The beauty about intuitive eating is this. It's like the last frontier. Is when you grasp this concept at a cellular level, then everything else in your life flows so much easier. Why? Because this is the last frontier. If you can't trust your intuition on this one point and honor the messages without judgment and ask, how does my body feel about this? How can you truly trust your intuition about anything else? I'm going to leave that question with you while I get to some of these comments. Morning, Sandy. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Great broadcast today. Thank you. Nicole, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yes. Do you know, I've been doing this for a very long time, Nicole. And I guess now it's so much a part of how I interact that I notice when I'm attuned to this, how much easier my life flows. That doesn't take away from the concept, by the way, of allowing yourself emotional eating when need be. There may be times you just feel like, every now and then my sisters and brothers and I often talk about this, that sometimes we're feeling sad and missing mum, or we'll make toast and Vegemite. Missing mum. That's okay. There's times when sometimes you just feel like a bowl of soup because it's nourishing and warming. But to understand what it is, I feel like Vegemite and toast, I'm missing mum. I'm going to have a piece of Vegemite and toast because that reminds me of mum. It reminds me of home. That's okay to do that, but it's acknowledging and understanding those messages. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. Clarity, Trish. Excellent. Excellent. I do want to, again, just say, if you would love to have a chat about this with me, is to, where am I going here? Book in a strategy session with me, and I can share with you how this really works and whether it works for you. Honestly, and I can say without reservation, it's changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. And I see it with clients now over and over and over again, when they just grasp this concept and it becomes cellular. It's like, oh my gosh. As a client of mine once said, I suddenly realized how much brain space I was taking up thinking those negative thoughts about my body and food and what I should and shouldn't be eating. When I just allowed this process, it was like I cleared out all this space to create other things. And that's the beauty of this. And see, it's not about the food. It never is about the food. Food's a byproduct. But when you understand it, and give yourself permission to truly explore it, works so beautifully. And that's why I just want to quickly run through with you how to use this with EFT. So with EFT, of course, always when you're going to the tapping to begin with, is to understand the emotion. Okay, even though I feel like eating, this block of chocolate, I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. Even though I feel like having all of this, I'm not judging myself. I deeply and completely accept myself and how I feel. Okay, what is this emotion? What's the emotion I'm feeling? I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. I'm looking at this chocolate. I really like it. In fact, we do a wonderful tapping session when clients first come on board on work with me. We actually get rid of the cravings altogether because we get down to the bottom and figure out what the emotion is. But I want to go through when you've done all that, when you've figured out the emotion, is to then go back and we just go through each of the statements. So we start the tapping point. I now allow myself to eat anything I want. Okay, what does my body really feel like? I choose to honor the messages without judgment. How does this make my body feel? I now allow myself to eat anything I want. What does my body really feel like? I choose to honor the messages without judgment. How does this make my body feel? You can do another round. I now allow myself to eat anything I want. What does my body really feel like? I choose to honor the messages without judgment. How does this make my body feel? You can create that disruptor and just stop from that. It can really help you identify what you've done in the past. All right, before we finish, let's have a look. Thank you, Nicole. You've really helped me in the past when my son was diagnosed with autism. You are truly an inspirational woman. Thank you. I've taken on board your words and will start this today. I have a lot of emotional baggage to offload. I never knew how to do it, but after listening to you now, I'll follow my intuition and allow my body to speak to me. Oh, Nicole, that's so beautiful. And can I tell you, there's something about when you, in raising children, when we kind of understand that, we listen to them, let go of the judgment of them, give yourself the same permission to listen, to understand, to not judge. And that's what's so beautiful about intuitive eating, because you just let go of the judgment of yourself. And when you find yourself slipping into that judgment, stop it. I now allow myself to eat anything I want. What does my body really feel like? I choose to honor the messages my body sends. How does it make my body feel? Your body will always respond. We're women. Our bodies will always tell us whatever is going on in our lives shows up in our body. I shared with you last week, 2 weeks ago, when I hurt my back, when I was doing an exercise and I hurt my back. When I got to the reason that sadness grief was still trapped in my body from 35 years ago, and the birth didn't go right. When I let that go, it went like that. Yes, I had one session with a chiropractor, and I tried painkillers. I didn't like it very much. I tried them, but that was the key. And it was letting go of that, and because everything gets trapped in our body, and it's always an emotion. And when we listen to that, give yourself permission to listen to your body. You are an amazing human being. You are an amazing human being. And the transformation that happens when you release that emotion out of your body, everything changes. You become different. You become different. When you release the emotion, you're just a different person. You see joy, everything feels lighter, feels stronger. It's just an incredible feeling. And this is where it starts. This is where it starts, right here with you. Thank you, Nicole. First time I've cried for myself and my love. Oh, that's so lovely. I hope you're okay, Nicole. I hope you're okay. Letting go of that emotion is really important. Makes us whole. All right, everybody. Thank you. We're 2 minutes past the hour. If there's any last questions, any last comments, just let me know. This is a passion project of mine, intuitive eating, and it is part of the transformation. If we can't get this right, then what's the point? If you are not comfortable in your body and feel that joy and listen to it, then what's the point? It will show up. Body, relationship, bank account, it'll always show up, mostly in our bodies. Have a wonderful Saturday, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and I look forward to speaking with you next week on the Living Lighter show. Wish you joy and be brilliant this week. See you then. Bye.